John, I think the phrase is make the most of it, catch it quick. Yes, if you'd been here, say, an hour, 2 hours ago, it was an absolute deluge, I promise you. You just couldn't see past the heavy rain and the strong winds. It was thoroughly miserable. And now, yes, as you say, making the most of a little bonus bit of evening sunshine. And as far as the weather story for the next few days is concerned, there will be a few spots of sun at the end of the week, daytime values of about 15 and colder still by night. Those are your temperatures, but some eventful weather to get through as well. Here are the details. So it's not too bad at all. The sunshine is basically just dipping a little bit now, but it has been a lovely evening. As I've been saying, make the most of it if it's sunny where you are at the moment, because it's not going to last.
Okay.
Well, it's basically a swirling mess of low pressure that dominates our weather story at the moment, with frontal systems one after another piled up, allowing this wet weather to work its way in. And that, as I said, accompanied by a change in wind direction to a northerly airflow, means wet and chilly weather to come. Now then, it's not particularly wet and it's not exactly chilly out here in Cardiff in South Wales at the moment either, but there is heavy rain plaguing northern areas, and that's been parked there for much of the day, will remain so overnight tonight, accompanied by quite a brisk wind here as well. Lots of low-lying cloud, misty, murky conditions. Quite a variation in temperature, though I think across much of Wales by the early hours of tomorrow morning it should be a generally dry story, and under clear skies the temperatures will take a tumble. We're looking at general values of 11 or 12 degrees, and as the winds drop back by the early hours, some pockets of mist and fog through the hills and valleys too. So it's going to be an unsettled start to tomorrow morning, and again across the north that rain will remain heavy and persistent. Not particularly pleasant conditions on the roads, but elsewhere a mixture of sunny spells and scattered squally showers. But there will be plenty of dry weather and, as I said, some decent spells of sunshine, with the temperatures much like today, maybe a degree or two down. We're looking at highs of around 15 or 16 in Celsius, all pretty okay, nothing too troublesome. However, we do have a band of heavy rain. The wet weather that's been plaguing the north will sink its way southwards, and so we have a weather warning in force. And effectively, if you take a pen and draw a line from Aberystwyth across, anything south of that will be covered by that weather warning, and that runs through until 10 o'clock Friday morning. We could see some really significant downpours. It will be overnight, so hopefully not too disruptive, but not pleasant by any means. And by the time we wake to Friday, then the worst of that wet weather will have cleared through, worked its way southwards, and we're looking at a relatively decent end to the week. Sunshine and showers says it all. There's barely a ripple on the water here in Cardiff Bay, but you know it's all about to change. Weather warnings and the national forecast coming up after the break. Mary, if you have to ask, I think you probably know the answer to that. Of course it is yes. Welcome to Cardiff Bay. We're making the most of the final few moments of daylight. It's all calm here, but as you mentioned, it's not going to last, is it? It never does. And let's start by, I'm sorry to say, talking about weather warnings. We've just had one issued for eastern parts of northern Ireland into Friday. That's the rain. But of course, there's more to our weather than just that. We've also got cold west, and with that comes some very cold nights ahead as well. Let's take a look in a little more detail. Well, I know it's a few days away yet, but if you're making plans for the coming weekend, Saturday is certainly shaping up to be the better day. But we've got some interesting weather, I think is probably the best way of putting it. But then it's that time of the year after all, Mary. Have a lovely evening.
All right, thank you, Ruth.
So yes, there is rain in the forecast for the next few days, with a few spots of sunshine too. It won't be a washout entirely, but the breeze will start to pick up at times too. And coupled with the change in wind direction I mentioned, that northerly airflow, the temperatures, as I said, will start to feel just that little bit cooler. Low pressure then very much the dominant feature of our weather story. It's frankly a mess, but it's one frontal system after another piled up and bringing these very unsettled conditions, with no sign of any let up anytime soon. Having said that though, the picture out here this evening in the south of the UK is relatively calm and quiet. Not quite so quiet though across parts of Northern Ireland, North Wales, and then across to North Yorkshire and down across the south of Scotland, where that batch of wet weather stubbornly persists into the overnight stretch. Either side of it though, so across parts of Scotland and in the southeast, we could see some drier conditions by the early hours, and under clear skies the temperatures will drop away. In fact, in Scotland we're looking at lows of around 4 or 5 degrees degrees, so cold enough for a little bit of frost. The showers across the southeast by the early hours will start to gather pace too, so wherever you are, it's going to be hit and miss by the time we wake to tomorrow morning. A little bit of mist and murk through the usual prone spots too, thanks to a gentle breeze. But that breeze will pick up. Those weather warnings come into force during the course of the day, and you can see again more heavy rain persisting across that northern belt, if you like. So some really nasty conditions with some drier weather thrown in, but already feeling that little bit cooler.